And I'm Cathy.
And this is Maggie Mae.
And who's this guy?
This is FDR, and that's who we're here to talk about today. Join us as we follow the moon. We're at Dowdells Knob near Warm Springs, Georgia, and we want to bring you some of the history of this area that involved FDR. We'll take you to the Little White House, which was his presidential retreat, and actually where he passed. And we'll also show you the Warm Springs in Warm Springs, the pools where he went for treatment for his polio, how that tied in with the March of Dimes, and how he helped other people with polio. So come along and enjoy.
Thanks.
Now we're going to start at Franklin Delano Roosevelt's Little White House. And we stopped here not really knowing what to expect. And boy, I'll tell you, this is one of those things that is a must see. There's so much history and so much of a look into the personal life of one of our best known presidents. He and his cousin, was Teddy a cousin?
I think so. Nephew.
Were very much integral into our national parks. This is a custom Willys that was built for him. He served as a senator from the state of New York, but he always considered himself a Georgian. This he felt was his home here. When you go into the visitor center, you immediately go into the museum. And that picture of him is significant because after being at the Warm Springs in Warm Springs, he said that was the first time he was able to bend his knee that far. This is a stagecoach that was the president's, and that was his motor car at the time. And because of his polio, it was set up with hand controls. There's a lot of information about polio. This was a violin that a local artist there played, and these are canes that have been given to him throughout the years. Now there's also a section on Eleanor Roosevelt, and she didn't spend as much time at Warm Springs that FDR did, but she still has left a lot of impact on the area. His wheelchair is there. There's a little SD pump organ that was designed to be taken to the battlefields. When you leave the museum, you'll see this map, and on the grounds, this walkway has a flag from each of the 50 states and has stone from each of the 50 states. Some are in the shape of the state, some are just the pieces of stone, but they're all things that are representative, native to those states. Now, this home was donated to the Little White House property, and the lady who had this and donated it wanted it to be used as a museum. And the museum was in this building just up until a few years ago. It's now being used as the office for the complex. I like the swivel gate. I'd never seen one of those before. But just a short walk from there is the Little White House. Everything is great paths and is very accessible. The first building that you see, the building that was on the right, is the servants' quarters. And this was an unusual layout. When you walk in, there's no lower level. You walk up the steps. The servants' quarters are all raised. And they had their own bath. The doorways were plexiglassed off, but you could see through them, and the rooms were all set up exactly as they were at the time. Has a sitting area out here, and behind those two doorways are two bedrooms. Now, directly across from that, on the left side of the property, is the guest house. And this is where many famous heads of state, government officials, family and friends would come and stay when FDR was there. And flying out front is a 48-star flag, which was the flag of the United States at the time of his passing. That is the Little White House. And this was his favorite place to be. It's a very modest home in many respects. However, it did have telephones, it did have panic buttons for the Secret Service. The shelf you see there on the left is where they kept ice water for the Secret Service men right inside the porch door. Came into the kitchen. There was a beautiful butler's pantry. Some of that glassware I remember seeing in my grandmother's house. This was the living area. And one thing that was very unique about this home is the desk and chair that you see there in front of the fireplace was the actual desk and the actual chair that he sat in. The furnishings are all the original furnishings, they're not recreations. Now this is his bedroom, and this is actually where he passed. He had been setting for a painting, and shortly after he collapsed, and I believe it was within about an hour and a half he passed. And they did actually say at one point that the collapse was he'd had a massive stroke. Has like a Jack and Jill bathroom.
Yeah.
And this was Eleanor's room, and it was set up with two beds because she didn't come to the Little White House as often as FDR did. It was set up that it could be used for guests that way too. Now his little dog Fala, there's a little statue of it there by the door, and there's scratch marks across the bottom of the door that came from that little dog. Now the legacy exhibit, April 12th, 1945 was when he passed, and he passed here at the Little White House. This is the painting that he was setting for that day, and it was left unfinished. It was a local artist that was doing that. There is another one that she did of it completed, but the one that she was working on at the time was left unfinished and is on display there. It is the actual painting. I thought that was a great picture. Mm-hmm. He only took Air Force One there once. Every other time he went there by train. He loved the train. They had some great books, a lot of memorabilia. Right around the corner from there is the Warm Springs treatment pools. This is what brought him to Warm Springs, was the flow of warm spring water to help with his polio. And FDR was instrumental in the March of Dimes to help fight against polio. Very interesting things. Today we don't think of polio a whole lot. It's pretty much a
thing of the past.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's an iron lung. They would put the polio patient in there when they could no longer breathe on their own. Sometimes they would get the ability to breathe back and come out of it. Sometimes they would spend the rest of their life in that. And these are the pools. They're right behind that little museum. And this is where people would come for the therapy from the warm springs. Now we're back where we started our video today. This is Dowdells Knob. This was a favorite spot of his. And they've got this great statue of him there. But this was a grill that was made for him. He loved to picnic, he loved the outdoors, and when he picnicked, it was tables, fine china, silver, tablecloths, all set up so that everybody who came to his picnic had this view. You can look at that and truly understand why he loved this area so much, that nature was that important, and his push in helping with the national park system.
Mm-hmm.
And it was chilly the day we were there, but it was beautiful.
Yes, it was very chilly.
And this truly was his Georgia. This last shot that I want to leave you with, I thought was so cool. You have his statue, and you have somebody sitting there. Well, pardon the wind, but it is windy up on top of this knob. But Cathy, what did you think about exploring the land where FDR loved?
It's pretty amazing. It's nice.
It really is. It's nice to see things that are so well preserved, not just recreated, but actually preserved.
That's right.
So with that, if you enjoyed our video today, leave us a thumbs up. We sure appreciate it. And if you haven't already subscribed, please do so and ring that notification bell. That way you'll know when every one of our videos come out.
And thank you for following us as we follow the moon.
Thanks for watching today.
If you haven't already, please subscribe to our channel.
And be sure to ring the notification bell so you'll know when new videos come out.
Don't forget to follow us on social media too.